Welcome to join our webinar. Um, if you're looking for ways to, hi Jennifer, thanks for turning on your camera. It's always good to see other educators fellow here with us. So this webinar, we're going to present you a powerful tool called NotebookLM, which will help you to analyze your counseling notes as a whole database. We'll walk you through, and then we'll also provide you useful tools and resources at the end. So please make sure you stay until the end. Today we have Cynthia with us. Cynthia, would you like to introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll talk about what we're gonna discuss.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Kofel. I was a school counselor for 25 years in all levels at different times, but mostly high school. But I have about 5 years experience at the middle school level.
Awesome. Yeah, Cynthia always provides very insightful and practical advice. Me as a researcher, Cynthia and I, we often gather and talk about what kind of tools we can bring to educators like you guys to not only save your time, but get deep insight to your students. So you can really create an effective intervention and make sure that what you're doing with the students is relevant to them, so they don't feel like you're out of touch. And that can happen many times. And certainly I can tell from my personal experience when I was in school, I'm not even sure that a counselor knows my name, and that's a horrible, horrible experience. And I never want that to happen to other students, and that's why we're here. Once again, welcome. As you join the session, please let us know your role and where you're tuning from. You can simply type in the chat. It's always good to learn a little bit about you. While you guys are typing your role and then where you're tuning from, I'll give you guys a little intro of myself. My name is Michael. I'm a research director at Palo SEL. Our concise integrated solution can be implemented within 2 weeks, and that makes Palo SEL a very shifty and effective way to introduce SEL to your students. Most importantly, our SEL is not just a curriculum. We provide you student insight on a comprehensive dashboard, which I'll give you guys a quick glimpse in a little bit. But since that's not the focus of this webinar, you can always schedule a one-on-one to see how Palo will work for your school. We already have partners with middle school, we have partner middle schools across different states, and we have observed a lot of progress in their, particularly in their student-faculty relationship and overall school climate. All right, so that's enough for us. Now that's to introduce the tool that I think will be amazing for you guys to utilize. I want to express my gratitude to all of you guys. I know your time is very precious, especially end of the school year. Probably a lot of work to closing the year. And besides, we're not even talking about figuring out the scheduling, which kids should be in which class with which friends during this whole summer. And I really hope that this tool will come in a timely manner where you can utilize immediately and see how powerful it can be. So thank you again for everyone joining. I'm still getting people into our room. And if you're joining just now, please let us know what are your role and where you're tuning from. All right, so let's get right into it. First, I would like to do a check-in with you guys, and I really think this is a fun exercise. And I personally love this hypothetical questions that if you can have a superpower, which one would you want to have so you can better support your students and why? We'll have 5 options here. And of course, if you want a different superpower because the challenge that you're dealing with is so different and unique, feel free to propose. But the 5 common superpowers I heard that counselors would have is first mind reading. When you're doing session with your students, you just wish that you can read a little bit more into what they're thinking. The second superpower that I really like is the heart connection, that you're able to understand what are their motivation, what are their desire, which friend do they feel closest, and why. The third superpower is insight to our upbringing. We all understand that environment is extremely important to a student's growth. It can hinge them, can also boost them. And so if you can kind of have that invisible code cloak and then be able to go into their home environment and check out how they interact with their parents or how they um, hang out with their friends, that can be very helpful as well. The fourth superpower, what I also think is very interesting, is the emotional gauge. I think that's super powerful because when students are really down or they're very anxious about the upcoming exam, by telling them planning for their high school might not be the best question to ask them. Maybe dealing with their anxiety will be more helpful. And lastly, activity generation. After collecting all the data from that student and you know exactly what they're thinking, what their motivation, how did their family, friends affect them, and then what the mood they're in, then you have to figure out what do I do with that, right? So you have to figure out an intervention. And this is what we talked about in our last webinar. So if you missed that, and then you would like to know how can you use AI to generate tailored intervention for your students, you can send me an email and then we can certainly send you the recording from our last webinar. All right, so which superpower would you like to have? Please type in the chat and you can also unmute yourself and let us know and share what challenge are you dealing with and why would this superpower help you? All right, so Jennifer said, I would love to have a magic wand so I could fix the impossible situation that some of the students are in, but an active generator will be amazing too. Yes, certainly. And the whole point of using AI is that it saves you time, but AI really cannot replace us, which we're going to cover it, what AI can do and what AI cannot do. So we understand the limitation that we're dealing with, and therefore we don't backfire this powerful technology. Cynthia, one, my reading, yeah, I think my reading is certainly very, very important to know what they're currently thinking. Right, so I would like you guys to think about it, and if one particular superpower ring a bell, please share with us. It's really cool to see what challenges you guys are dealing with and which one will really help you out. And this also gave me an idea of what future webinar can be, right? If you really want a my reading superpower, how can we make AI a my reading superpower? It can be a chatbot. It can be a chatbot that you simply chat with the student all the time, and whenever you're jumping a session with them, you get to see their chat histories with that bot. And so that's something that we can also think about if we have enough people want to have that. All right, thank you for your participation. We're going to move on. All right, so I want to tell a little story about Miss Jonas. And I'm sure this is very relevant to all the counselors, including myself. So Ms. Jonas has been a middle school counselor for 12 years and loves supporting her students. However, we all know that counselors have endless of tasks to do. And the endless of tasks to do is not fun. It's overwhelming. And then I'm sure that you guys have been to a few conference or webinars, and now everyone is talking about how can you use AI in education. It's amazing, it's exciting, but at the same time, we also know that AI is really just a robot, and robot doesn't have feelings. And when you don't have feelings, when you're helping your students, you know that it's not going to succeed. And so, even though Ms. Jonas was eager to integrate AI to her student support, she has a lot of worries. And that's what I hope to do today is that first we can resolve those kind of like the myth about AI and what AI can actually do, what AI cannot do. And then we will spend about 30 minutes toward the end of the webinar to walk you through this powerful tool called NotebookLM. And then I'll show you the demonstration and provide you resources to start implementing this AI in your own work. Oh, forgot to say something. Let me go back a little bit. You see this little microphone on the top right corner. This is where I welcome you to participate with us. So when we see a microphone, that means Cynthia and I, we're going to have a discussion to see how this can be powerful for her work. And you feel free to jump in and have a discussion with us. All right. So I already went over this. So this is our agenda. We'll talk about AI. We'll talk about some of the best practice in note taking. And if we have time, we can talk about what are the use of AI. And then if you guys would like to see how AI can help in particular cases, you guys can let me know, and then I can go ahead and create that webinar for your own benefit if you can join us next time. All right, so we'll quickly go over what AI is not. So AI is not free from bias and inaccuracy. All AI is like a person with a blank slate. And if they learn information super fast, they can certainly acquire a lot of information in their head, but it matters what that information is. If that information contains a lot of bias or misinformation, then the AI will naturally become biased and misinformed. What AI can really do well is be a bullshit machine. So sometimes you look at AI, like, oh, that all makes sense, but wait a second, it doesn't make sense. And if you look behind what AI is trying to say, they'll always agree with you. So I don't know if you guys remember from the very beginning of the ChatGPT release, people are trying to make bomb out of it. And then if a student is saying that, I'm really sad, and I'm thinking about suicide, AI will say, I'm glad to help you. Here's 5 ways you can kill yourself without letting other people know. And that's dangerous. And so AI is certainly not free from bias and inaccuracy. And so please be aware of that. AI is certainly not a replacement for professional expertise. Your expertise in order to develop relationship and connection with your students is significantly better than what AI can, even though sometimes students might prefer to talk to AI instead of you, but it's all also because AI is an agreeable person, right? All the time they'll try to go along with this, what students are saying, instead of giving them the best advice that really help them to grow and become a functional adult in the society. And lastly, AI will not ever replicate human quality, for example, like empathy and emotional intelligence. And then we can see all different cases when people demonstrate when AI there's something wrong or they didn't understand what are people's struggle. And most importantly, they don't have ethical judgment. So you can send in a very hard ethic questions, but they won't be able to reason why that should work. The only way they can reason is that based on the database, based on the training data, this is what am I supposed to answer this question. However, ethical judgment is often very, very difficult. And this is something that only human can do, especially us. So do not think that AI is ever gonna replace you. It's impossible. But however, AI can become a very powerful ally to save your time and give more insight to your students. So going forward, I want you to think about AI is really a powerful co-pilot that will be able to enhance your capacity. So think about it as like a bicycle, right? You can walk, but if you have a bicycle, you can bike a little bit faster, but it still requires you to pedal. And you can have a car, but it still requires to pump in the gas. So basically, robots never going to replace us. It can only be an extension of what we're already doing. And we can use them to make our work higher productivity or higher quality, things like that. So what AI can do is that AI can be a supportive tool to automate your administrative tasks and offer personalized resource. So for example, there are AI out there, they will be able to grade paper. So if you're an English teacher or if your English teacher is struggling with grading dozens of paper every week, they will be able to have an AI, feed the AI the rubric, and then the AI will be able to grade it for them firsthand, right? AI wouldn't be able to give them the final grade. It still requires human's eye to go through them. However, it can give those graders a little to get a little ahead to get it started, so they don't have to start from scratch. You have with the scheduling, you can have an AI say, ask them, hey, I want to schedule a student for 15-minute section. When will I have time for that? And then AI can help you to find a time slot for you to schedule. Lastly, what AI can also do is to personalize plans and material. So if you already know something about your student, and then you know that there is some best practice that you would like to integrate them together, AI does particularly well. They can help you to integrate together. It still requires your own expertise to kind of read through them to see if it makes sense. But it can help you to get started. What AI can also do is simulate a scenario for your own training or for student learning. So one way to do it, I don't know if you guys have ever tried this, but you can instruct an AI to say, now play as, let's say, a motivational interviewer. And then you just let the student play with that AI, and the AI will do those interviews. And then you can just take that chat history for your own review. Right? So you don't really have to go through that interview because the process is probably the same. And if you instruct the AI to do that, then AI will eventually become that chatbot or immediately become that chatbot. And then you can let the student to interact with that chatbot, and then you can get all that good information to you. It can be a conflict resolution for you. So let's say you have a scenario that you don't know how to handle. You can simulate a scenario in AI, and AI can give you some aspect of how to do this. One of the things that I recently done is that I am renegotiating my contract with one of my employers. And what I did is I basically feed my employer's information, and then what my negotiation terms are, and the AI was be able to simulate a negotiation scenario for me to practice in voice. So this is all really interesting, and this is for something you guys can try. All right, so this is what we're going to talk about today. I think the most powerful AI for counselors and educators that we're able to rapidly analyzing large data set. And we don't have time to go through all the notes that you have, right? And then if we just think about how much data you're getting on top of all the notes that you're already writing, whenever school asks you to analyze that, you really don't have time to do that. However, AI will be able to do this for you, and we're going to show you today how is that being done. But before that, I would like to show you guys a video. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure we all watched TED. But this educator, she's amazing. Her TED talk title is "Every Child Needs a Champion," and so I will just want to share you guys a clip of what she was saying. And I think this is so important because while we're so busy, those neglect when you don't have the information you need before you talk to the student knows. They know that you're not up to date. You probably don't know what happened to them. And then they stop listening to you. And that disconnection is heartbreaking because we're all here to help them, but they don't feel like you're helping them. And I work with a lot of students, and I'm so surprised that they all think that school is not there to help them. And I feel that's a very heartbreaking fact. And then if we're able to understand student better through our data analysis, I think that would be a great help. But let's take a look of this video.
Everyone in this room has been affected by a teacher or an adult. For years, I have watched people teach. I have looked at the best, and I've looked at some of the worst. A colleague said to me one time, they don't pay me to like the kids. They pay me to teach a lesson. The kids should learn it. I should teach it. They should learn it. Case closed. Well, I said to her, you know, kids don't learn from people they don't like. Everyone.
So unfortunately, we are paid to make them like us because that has to be the first step. And here's how we can do it. All right, so let's look at the challenge. If this is you, we have a solution for you. This has been me, and now it's getting worse and worse and worse because now it's not just written down notes. There are tons of notes, teachers' referrals from your admin and your own notes. There's tons of texts that you need to consume, and especially now it's been a year, and all of a sudden someone asks you, "Hey, how's Johnny doing? What intervention did you provide for Johnny because he had this issue, this issue, this issue? Is Johnny doing better?" You're like, "Oh my God, I have to go dig through all the notes." And then let me tell you 5 years later. Okay, we don't have to wait for 5 years anymore. We can just use 5 minutes to find out how Johnny is doing. Right, before we do that, in order to use AI, because AI is extremely smart by summarizing notes, but they're really dumb to understand your notes. And so therefore, your notes have to be very, very structural. And overall, this is just a good practice. We'll share you a note-taking template later on as well. But here's some of the best practices for note-taking. And then if you are still working on this, you need to first get this straight in order to let AI to understand your note. Otherwise, it's just gonna start spitting out gibberish that doesn't make sense. So here are 5 best practices, and I'm sure that all of us here already doing this, but this is just a quick reminder. Make sure number 1 is the key. Make sure your note-taking format is consistent. So AI understand that which section to look for, and make sure that every section has a title, and we'll show you the reason why. It's always good to record objective observation and student quotes. It's always a good reference, so you remember which section of the note that AI is bringing to you, and then you can retrieve. You can kind of track where that quote is from in the notes in the AI. Certainly know your intervention and then their response to it. This is also particularly helpful if you want to introspect how your intervention is effective for the students that you met with. Be concise and timely. We always forget what's in our head if we go on and just meet more students. So any type of notes will be helpful, and you really don't have to typing in correct grammar. It can be all in bullet points, and AI will be able to turn that into a statement for you. And of course, follow your ethical guideline and school policy so we don't get into trouble. Right, so let's have a discussion, and Cynthia would love to hear your ideas on this. So now we understand that we all have a pile of notes, and only if that the school has a budget for you to get a research assistant who can review all your counseling notes in the past 2 or even 3 years. Cynthia, what kind of information would you like them to look for to help you with your counseling practice?
I think it would be interesting to know what have been like the common themes of what kids were coming to me about. Like what do I typically work on? Because since it's like so random all the time, you would never know for sure how often you had different types of problems. And I think also, I don't know that I always put this in my counseling notes, but when you were talking about putting what was the intervention and what was the response to it, if I had that information and then somebody looked back over the years, I would want to know what's my percentage of success or progress, I guess, because sometimes you get progress, which is success, but it doesn't come out as a number that looks like success. And so I would want to know how often were certain interventions helpful, maybe, an intervention that helped a lot of kids, or how often was I just helpful in finding an intervention for those students that I worked with.
Yeah, that's a great insight. I think sometimes we're so busy just implementing intervention, but we forget to evaluate. And even we evaluate, and then when we need to look back, it's already a few months over, and then so it's very hard to dig in to look into that. And then I just wanna, I can't wait to show you guys what AI can do with this. But that's a perfect use case using AI to identify which intervention has been the most helpful, or which intervention that you use the most often. That could be another question you can ask AI. For other counselors here in the webinar, I would like you to kind of write down what kind of questions you would like to ask if you have that research assistant, which is going to be the AI I'm going to introduce to you guys. And then we can kind of experiment a little bit, right? Because like I say, AI is extremely smart, but at the same time, really, really dumb. And then if we don't ask them the right question, they will give you the wrong answer. I remember who said that quote? Is it Einstein? He said that the most challenging thing is not a solution, but asking the right question. And I think that perfectly apply to this situation. Right, so I'm going to give you guys 10, 15 seconds to just kind of write down what would you like to ask that research assistant so we can experiment and you can see how that works for you. And I will have few people who just joined us. Welcome, welcome. We are just getting to the main part of this webinar. And then please, if you can share where you're tuning from and then what is your role in your school, will be greatly appreciated. All right. This is not the only 4 ways, but this is the 4 major categories. And then you can be very creative. This is something that the beauty about AI is that everyone kind of uses AI in a different way. This is such a personalized assistant for everyone. However, there are 4 ways that will be most effective for you to analyzing counseling notes. First is summarization. You can basically ask them what happened in May. And then if you have the note template, that means that you all have a date on top of it. They will be able to summarize what happened in May. You can ask what happened last year in May, and they'll be able to summarize everything from last year. Grouping. You can ask, how are my 6th grader doing? What are the common challenges in my 6th grader? You can even ask, how are my ESL students doing? Are they improving their English? Do they have more anxiety than the regular English class? You can group them. The third way is individualizing. You can literally ask, how's John doing? How's John doing in May? And then I thought that's absolutely amazing because I have those questions all the time. And then last thing, I think this will be groundbreaking analysis is you can analyze in trend. So you can ask, for example, Cynthia's question, which intervention have I been using the most? And which intervention has benefited my student the most based on the student response? And if you can analyze that trend, you can really see how you can improve your practice in the following year. And then you can also identify some of the risks that maybe you couldn't see before because you're dealing with each individual case, but now the AI will be able to compile them together and say, seems like last year we have a lot of relationship problems. And there's a lot of peer conflict. And then you can start planning ahead and say, okay, now next year we need to deal with that. And all that can be can all be discovered through asking the right questions. Here are a few questions I propose, and then at the end of the webinar, well, actually after this webinar, we're going to send you the recording of this webinar and then a document that contain all the questions that we have over here, including the note-taking template. So you don't need to write it down. We're just gonna go through them real quick, and you'll have the document with you. But Cynthia, I would like to know your opinion on this. If you get to ask all these questions and then you can get an answer from an AI, what would you like to do with it? And then how do you think these questions are helpful in your practice?
Well, in the last school that I worked in, there were 7 counselors. So I love the summarization because I wouldn't even know what was happening with a 1/6 of the school because I was only working with my caseload. And so I think as a counseling center, it would have been perfect for us when we sat down and had our meetings about what's going on in the school and what goals do we want to have as a counseling group. it would be great if we could have summarized our notes and had like some themes or things that we could have worked on. But because, we only knew a little piece of the whole pie, and we could sit and talk about it in a room like, oh, well, I'm having these problems and I'm having these problems. But to see it from the notes, I think, because sometimes we see things differently personally than it was really true in the numbers. And so it would be great to have that summary so we would have been able to make better goals for the whole center. If I was a counselor by myself, though, I still would want to know, that summarization of what's going on. And I love like what was the average response of students in the interventions? Like, are the interventions I'm trying even working? And do we need to come up with new interventions or different ways of handling the kids later on, or classroom lessons I need to teach some of these things that seem to be skill gaps?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think that are all the good ways to use this. And please don't limit yourself to just the questions. It's just some examples. And I absolutely think that if we have a central hub of all the counselors' notes, that will be so helpful. And so you don't have to, you can really eliminate that kind of communication delay from your own investigation, because you can investigate the notes itself without getting another person to the discussion, and that can really save not just your time but the other person's time as well. That's a great use of it. The next part is grouping, and then I'm sure that a lot of you can already think about how you're going to use this. But we talked to many counselors. A lot of time they just want to know, okay, what am I sixth grader doing? And then they know that every grade seems to have their own particular issue, and just only if you'll be able to identify that. So Cynthia, I would like to ask you this: what would be an interesting thing that what will be a helpful thing for you to see regarding to problems in a particular grade?
Well, we did a senior exit interview or survey, and kids would write, what they hated or what they loved or whatever about the school. And we never, as far as I know, ever summarized that at all and like said, what did all the seniors think about, the problems of the school or what was good about the school. And I could see that would have been a great thing to take all of their survey answers and kind of get a theme of, what was the number one problem that the seniors had, when they were experienced or high school. But I would guess middle school sometimes maybe does an exit interview with eighth graders or whatever grade is leaving the school. And I could see how that could be helpful. Like, what did they experience the most in their own words, like, and you could take that, all of those survey answers and come up with an answer.
I think that would be super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think a lot of times students don't necessarily say it out loud, but if you have an opportunity to administer that survey, be able to compile that survey and analyze with the AI, that can certainly give you a lot of interesting data points to maybe even get a new understanding of how the school is running. And I think it's so important for counselors, right? Because you guys are the advocates for students' well-being, and no one is really looking to that kind of data. And if you are able to use that data to back you up, then you can really help your students to get more support, get more resources for their well-being, and which can make you a more effective counselor. So thank you so much for sharing that. Individualizing. I really like this. Cynthia, can you think about any case of this, or I can share my example?
Well, I'm still using this type of thing in my role now as a teen anxiety coach. I just take my notes from sessions and I ask AI to tell me what is the common themes here. And then I ask AI to create activities to help me teach that, whatever they're struggling with. And sometimes I don't use exactly what it says, but it gives me an idea of, oh, I never thought about trying this with them and trying to help them with this And it can even give them give you steps or give them steps on what to do for that particular skill they're needing to learn.
Mhm. Yeah, in my case, I think that I think I did a similar things. So I have a student that he is always falling behind on his academic, and the whole time I'm just thinking that oh, his lack of study skills, his lack of time management. And one day I was like, let's give it a try. Let's see what AI can identify. And then what's interesting is that and I analyze is that he has a lot of anxiety toward test taking. But he actually equipped with all the skills that he need, but that anxiety kind of blocked him to perform. And I was dumbfounded. Not just because AI said that, but he gave me a specific example. He said it this way, not that way. So
Mm.
that's a clear indication of his anxiety. And of course, like you say, um, it's not always accurate, but it kind of shed a light on a new aspect of that student that we ourselves might have bias and are able to see. And I
Mhm.
think AI can be really good as a sounding board just to give you a different piece of information and you decide, oh, did I miss this? Or this is just another bullshit from AI. But
Mhm.
certainly it can give you a new perspective on things. Um, and lastly, trend analysis. I think this is very, very important because oftentimes what we're trying to do is to identify certain risk that exists in school, whether it's bullying, whether it is relationship issues, or maybe there's a faculty who are just shouldn't be in school at all. And those things are really hard to discover unless you have a large database. And only if you can identify those risks, then you can address the educational inequality. Certainly, there are students out there on your campus that who is not getting enough support, or they're just not getting what they deserve from education, and that is largely what we want to improve. If we really want to improve our students' wellness, school climate, that should be a very important topic for you to talk about with your faculties. But without data backing it up, they don't usually want to listen because it's so easy to implement an intervention to a group of students or just one student. But it's really, really hard to think about, okay, what will be a school-wide implementation? And without strong data to back it up, it kind of diminish your effort to advocate what will really help all students rather than just a small group of them. So Cynthia, what do you think about this?
I love it. And it kind of it makes me think about those seniors again, because what I was seeing as I read through the survey results is that a lot of kids were mentioning racial bullying. And I
Mm,
remember saying something to the other adults in the building, like, I keep reading where these kids are talking about this. And they were like, oh, our school is so great with diversity and our school loves everyone and our school. And I'm like, yeah, but the kids are saying something else. And like, because we think the school climate's fine doesn't mean that the kids think the school climate is fine. And having like showing that there really was a trend would have been great because, I was just reading individual things, seeing like, oh, I keep hearing or keep reading this as I'm reading along. But it would have been nice to see it on paper. I think it would have made a bigger impact with the administrators.
100%. 100%. One of the philosophy that we have in Power SEO is that we want to empower counselors. The counselor is such a it it such a unique role that only you have the ability to not only take care of students' wellness but have access to all the data. And interesting thing is that, and I think that we talk about this very often, all counselors are great relationship builders. And we're here to develop relationship. And data just seems to be a cold, hard thing that it seems to be hard to touch. However, once you become data-driven counselor, then you can really make those impact that you really want to do, whether it's to develop a closer relationship with a particular students, or be able to advocate certain support for a group of students, or as you say, that there is an issue in our support for diversity, and there are some students doesn't feel like they're included in this atmosphere, and we have to deal with that. And then if no data is backing it up, then it's very easy for them to strip off the carbon and be like, no, we don't have that, because those issues are really big. And then typically, if you don't have something to support your claim, there's no action taken, and that happens a lot. So great example. Thank you, Thingsia. All right, so I'm going to show you guys what NotebookLM is, and of course, this is not designed for our purpose, but it is a perfect tool for our purpose. So let's take a look of the promo video done by Google, and then I'll show you guys the demo that I think you guys can implement into your practice. So let's take a look. It's very easy. You upload a bunch of documents in there, and they're going to eat it up, and then you can ask any questions. That's it. Okay, so I can already imagine how I'm going to use this. I hope you guys can kind of visualize already. But I'm going to show you how a counselor can use this tool. All right. So first, if you want to access the tool on your hand right now, you can also do this. Just typing NotebookLM.google.com, and you can kind of work alongside with me and see the experience firsthand. And then once you open a new notebook, you'll see that's completely empty. You can name the notebook. You can add note to it. You can upload resources such as text files. So if you already have a bunch of Google Doc, then you can just upload them. You don't have to copy and paste. If you have Google Doc in your drive, that's even better. You just take it from your drive. So it's all very convenient, and it's all integrated within the Google ecosystem. You shouldn't need to put too much work to jam your notes in here. But the more organization you have, such as a structural notes, or you have you try to put similar notes in each notebook, that might help you analyze better. But keeping organized in this notebook is very important, as kind of like for every notebook. So let me show you how you can use this. All right. So I want to first go over the template that I prepared for you guys. I use this framework called SOAP and E. So if you're not familiar with this is developed by, I believe, a psychologist, and mainly used for mental health note-taking. And it stands for subjective observation, objective observation, assessment, plan, and evaluation. And so if you, I'll share a whole document with you guys after this webinar to your email. So let's take a quick look. Basic things: student name, grade, ID, date, time. Maybe you have different middle school, so maybe it's which middle school that is. But you feel free to add all the basic information over here. One thing can really help AI to analyze your notes is to give them a tag. So then you can, you can use keyword. But this structure helps AI to quickly identify, okay, if you want to know classroom issue, they will just look for the keyword that has classroom. Right? If you want to look at attendance issues, then you just have attendance over here, and the AI will be able to fetch that notes quicker. So this helps AI to analyze. Other than that, more basic information, the better, because if you have grade, then you can ask what happened in my sixth graders, right? You can even just type in ID, even though you don't remember a student's name, or for some reason you got a referral only has a student ID, then you can say, hey, can you look up which student this is? Here's their ID. And then going through it, this is the observation, student quote, any plan that you have discussed, the intervention that you have used, and their response to intervention, even next step if you want to. So this will be a template for you guys to expand. This is how to follow this template, but when you have a template, it generally helps the AI to analyze better. In document, we also provide all the questions that I presented in our webinar. and you can use them for your practice, but feel free to expand and experiment a little bit. All right, so let me demonstrate how it's going to be done. First, let me delete this. What the hell delete it? Not do that, it's too dangerous. Okay, so for our demonstration, I only have 6 student notes, and the students are made up. So this is not any student's note. I basically made up the 6 notes for this demonstration, and I'm sure for counselors at this time point, you probably have hundreds of notes, and so there are more questions you can ask. But let's start with the 6, and let me. This is a little bit. Right, so let's say the 6 students' notes are the notes that I want to take a look at. And I want to point out that one difference between this LM and other AI is that when you are using ChatGPT or Google's Gemini, they have the access to the internet. That means that they might fetch information that it's not necessarily in your own database. But when you use NotebookLM, when there's nothing in your notes, they will simply say there's no information that they can fetch. And so that's a positive thing, right? Because obviously you don't want them to mingle with the other information that is not relevant to your students or to your school. But this will only limit their knowledge within the notes that you feed to them. And so I'm going to demonstrate some of the questions that we talked before, and let's just see how that magic happens. So quickly, we have Jackson Lee here. Jackson Lee is 6th grade. I met with him, hypothetically speaking, I met with him in April. I also met with Mia, and Mia is in 6th grade. And then Mia has a lot of problems, so I met her twice in May. We also have Lily, an 8th grader who has relationship issue, as well as Ethan, but maybe different relationship issue. And then we also have Alex, who has behavioral problems. Right, so first thing, let's do summary. So I just want to know, how are my students doing in April? And you can see that only the students in April, so all these 5 notes should be ignored. So let's take a look. It did great. It says that there's only 1 note from April and it's from Jackson. And you don't even have to look into the notes, it's summarized for you. And then if you're like, I don't know, is this right? You can click on citation, it will tell you where the note came from. Okay. In this case, this is the 6th note that you have, and this from here. Let's ask a different question, but this time we're going to ask a different question. We're going to ask about May. So summarize notes from May. I did it again. Right, so it shows that Jackson is not including in the May notes, and here are the 4 students who visit you in May, including their date, what are their worries. This instantly is already become very a lot of time saving things. Right. We all want to know what a common intervention we use. We often use so many different interventions, and we don't even know that there's a thing in our intervention. So let's see, what are the most common interventions being used in April and May. So according to the 6 notes, these 3 interventions have been used the most: active listening, CBT, and problem solving. Let's do an interesting one. I would like to know, what other issues faced by 6th grader? So I want to know what happened to them. So we have 2 students who visit us, Jackson and Ethan. and they both are in 6th grade, this is the problem that they are having. And we can also ask them which grade faced the most relationship issue. And remember the tag that we had in our note template? That's where this AI will help this AI to identify, okay, who has the tag of relationship. And then of course you can ask for academic or behavior. For the sake of this demonstration, we're going to use relationship. And it shows that 2 of the 6th graders have relationship issue and 2 of the 8th grader have that relationship issue. So imagine you have hundreds of notes. This will be able to help you list out who have relationship issues and who have behavior issues. Isn't that amazing? I think it's so amazing. Another interesting one that you can ask is, remember we have 2 Mia's notes? We can say, tell me everything about Mia. There you go. You don't have to dig around anymore. The AI will be able to give you all the notes from Mia, and not only the date, but also quick, easy to glance bullet points for you guys to consume. We can also ask an interesting one. What are any recurring students with multiple issues? Right? Who visits you the most often? Right? If a student came to office once and never come back, maybe they're good now. But if a student who continue to come here, maybe there's a bigger issues that is going on with that student. In this case, it's going to be Mia, because Mia has 2 notes, as I shared with you guys in the beginning. And lastly, we're going to do a trend analysis. The question we're going to ask is, are there any systematic issue within the school environment contribute to these problems, right? And now this AI is going to consume the 6 notes that I have. For you guys will be hundreds of notes and be able to analyze that. Seems like there's a lot of bullying happening in school. Because of who? Because of this 4 students that they all reported have been bullied. And in the form of physical, verbal, and cyberbullying. And it's become such a strong evidence for you to advocate an intervention for bullying, because you can say, we have 6 students mention this, and they include all this, and here's what they say. I can go to see, Forster Ethan or Alex Johnson has it too. So then you can click on this and see what he say and how did AI identify that information. That's it. This is so important that you would like to keep in your notebook. You can click this, pin this image to a note, and this will become a note over here. Right now, this note become a database, and then you can ask any further question. Right? So you kind of want to think like you are training your research assistant. Right? As they go through it, they discover that bullying is the main issue of the school, and you ask them to write a summary of it. This is what this AI can do, is to write a summary of this. And then you can share this with people, right? You can ask them to be within school with these problems. And then you can, this is not a good example, but you can ask any further information, and then whether you want to consider this as part of the analysis or not, just check, give it a check or check it off. So right now, since we're not analyzing any of this, because this is just a template, this is queries, we only check this 6 notes. But then you can start saving it. So this is kind of like a notebook, and it's something you can selectively be analyzing. And of course, you can just select all if you all of them on notes, and you can deselect them. You can also just ask about Jackson, right? So you can say, tell me about Jackson, since you haven't talked to Jackson for too long and you would like to get quick notes about how he's doing. I will give you an organized note just like this. So this is all going to be very, very helpful for you to use. So definitely give it a try. I think this is a groundbreaking idea and tools for you to give it a try. And then I hope that you guys can already visualize how this will help you to wrap up your school year. All right, so I know we're almost out of time, so I'll quickly go through the rest of it. So once again, we're Palo SEL. Our mission is to make sure that students are seen. Not only that, it's a very easy to implement as tier 1 program. It also provides you tons of insight as a counselor. So you can have more things to add to your notebook. You can have more evidence to advocate for your students' well-being. And most importantly, they learn some skills to be more self-reliant. So maybe you can do less meetings with them. And this is how you can understand how Palo will help you. We know that every school has a sort of NTSS system, and this is where Palo SEL is at. We are at the tier 1 intervention where we provide you analytic that will give you the insight for intervention. If there are students saying, I am being bullied, I'm being abused, or even say I'm super depressed, I don't want to live anymore, those response in our SEL program will flag them. And then you can take immediate action rather than wait until when there's an assessment. So the whole point is that they are learning SEL skills. At the same time, we're doing continuous assessment with your students, because one of the core philosophy in our curriculum is that we encourage student expression. So there's never a right or wrong answer. It's all about reflection and express themselves. And typically we'll be able to capture a lot of meaningful responses that will really help you to provide a more tailored support, and also be able to help you to understand your student population better so your intervention can be more effective. And let me share you what a dashboard looks like. So when you implement SEL into your school, you will also receive a dashboard, and this is exclusively to only counselor by design. We believe that there are a lot of sensitive information that only the counselor has the expertise to decide and make a judgment what is the best for the students. And you can decide who can have access to this. And what this will do is that you can, of course, you can group different grades, and you can see how comfortable they are, because we have a checking exercise before each lesson, and it will tell us how they're feeling comfortable or not. Once you identify if your school average comfortableness is 72, then it's all good as long as it stay consistent. But in any day that drop to 51, then you might want to see, okay, what happened that day? Why are students feeling uncomfortable? You can see your SEL engagement. We know that a lot of SEL out there, we don't know if teachers are implementing it. And then often that we put so much effort to implement a program and no one is using that. And that's really heartbreaking. In this case, we will keep track of attendance for you and even keep track of average lesson time. So you can coordinate your teacher better, right? No, we're not going to take 20 minutes of your classroom time. It's only going to take 4 minutes according to our data, right? So the teachers feel more comfortable that they have more control over their time instead of thinking, oh my God, I need to teach this SEL skill and it's going to take 20 minutes away from my classroom. When you are interested in knowing a student more because of their flags, or just because you want to kind of search them up because you're about to have a meeting with them, you can see their profile. And this profile will give you a historical trend of how they're feeling, what questions we're asking, and what are their response. If there's any mood swing that you should be aware of, or any extreme uncomfortableness, or if they say anything that indicates hurting themselves or self-harm or hurting other people, this will all be flagged and will facilitate your intervention better. All right, so I know we're on tight schedule. It's already 11 o'clock. I really appreciate all of you stay until the end. We'll send you an email about for this recording, and in the document that I promise you, I'll compile the template, the queries, and then I'll including a link of the notebook LM for you guys to give a shot. Hopefully, this will save you tons of time and help you to get closer to your students, so they will like you and listen to you, so you can make you can make a change in their life and help them to become a functional adult in the society. I'm going to be here for another 5-10 minutes. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer for you. But before you go, we will continue to have webinar every month. So feel free to visit our website, and you can join our webinar by clicking on this banner over here. We are also offering, because summer is coming, we're offering a 3-month free trial. So you can experience this firsthand. If you just want to trial for one classroom, we can also do that. It doesn't have to be your whole school. If you just want to, because you know a teacher who are more open-minded and more flexible with their classroom time, then we can try that one classroom. And if you think that, wow, this is groundbreaking, it's saving you tons of time, and it just help you with your school climate, then feel free to give a shot. It's very easy for you to do it. I'll send this link to you in the chat, but you can also scan this QR code, and then you'll be able to go to our Calendar and make a one-on-one demo schedule with us. In our demo, we'll walk you through the philosophy behind Power SEL. How do we implement to any classroom or your school or even a school district within 2 weeks? And then how more of the full view of your counselor dashboard, how that will be able to help you with your practice. All right, once again, thank you so much for joining me. I'll be here for another 5-10 minutes. Feel free to unmute your mic or send me a question in the chat, and I'll be able to answer over here. Thank you all. Have a good today's live. Oh, it's almost the end of the week. Happy Thursday. I think they all will jump off. Thank you, Cynthia. That was very insightful. I had fun discussing with you.
Sure.
Yeah. What do you think about the webinar? And do you plan to try this out?
I loved it. And I actually did use it because now maybe I'm not using ChatGPT or Gemini in the right way, but I don't know how you can upload like a document into it to analyze it. And so I used NotebookLM because I wanted some copy for and to create some slides about a PDF that I have. And I put the PDF in it, and then I just said, just analyze this PDF, and I want like ideas for slides for this. And also, what was the other thing? Oh, I think I said copy to, and compel someone to want to come to this talk or whatever. And it gave me some good information. Yeah. So,
I didn't know. That's crazy. That's actually
yeah.
a very useful way to prepare for presentation and
Well,
materials.
because I thought, a lot of times when I just am randomly looking for general information, I can just go into ChatGPT and say, I need a presentation, make an outline for a presentation about this. But I already have the PDF, and it's my freebie. And I thought, how can I create a workshop that just goes right to the PDF? And I thought, well, and I was going to go in and copy and paste every page, and there's like 13 pages, and put it into,
Yeah,
and I was
it
like,
won't
oh, I don't
work.
want to do that. Yeah. And so then I thought, oh yeah, that Notebook LM, you can like put in documents from my drive or from, so I thought I'm just going to try that, and it worked. So
That's great. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, that's why I always think AI is amazing, the way that everyone can find out their own way to use it. And there's no right way to use it. It's just,
yeah, just
as long as you understand the limitation of it, then you can use it and really empower your personal capacity in anything.
Yeah, because I need ideas to be generated, and then I can just run with them and make them however I want them. I just need something to give me the idea. And so I use it for idea generation constantly. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, you're using a note taker. And I want to use a note taker when I do my sessions on Zoom. And so this, I can't see, this is so tiny, but is that just one that's in the apps in Zoom? Or do you have a special note taker?
So if you subscribe to the premium, they should have an AI summary thing going on. So
Okay. Is that
I
down
can
on
say
the AI assistant or is that something else?
that's the AI assistant.
Okay, so I have
Yeah.
that because I do pay because I want to have longer sessions. I don't know if I have pro or whatever.
Yeah.
But so if I just click AI assistant when I start a meeting, it'll take the notes that way.
Yes. So
Okay.
I can send you an article on this because I don't know exact detail. We just basically turn on that setting and we just let it run. So every time when we finish the webinar, we can go to let me just show you where I can find them. And so
Sure.
let me first stop recording. And then I don't know if this not what was this we'll have a discussion if maybe this would be helpful for them, but I'm going to stop recording first.